more, let's welcome in former Lieutenant Governor of New York and columnist for the New York Post, Betsy McCaughey, here in studio with us, former New York Congresswoman Nan Hayworth. Betsy, former Trump attorney Michael Cohen appeared on MSNBC to break down a mock cross-examination. Take a listen.
Why should this jury, Mr. Cohen, take everything you're saying as 100% serious and not tinged or tainted by your understandable negative feelings towards him? What do you say to that?
Let's go to the documents. I don't want anyone to take a single word of what I am saying and use that as the basis for a potential conviction. Let's go, as Warner Wolf used to say, let's take it to the video.
Fair.
All right,
That's
Betsy,
fair.
what do you make of his comments?
Well, I find these comments preposterous because, in fact, the documents demonstrate that Michael Cohen has lied about this issue, the Stormy Daniels payments, again and again. In fact, my newspaper, the New York Post, published last week the letter that Michael Cohen's attorney sent on Cohen's behalf to the Federal Election Commission in 2018, claiming that Cohen himself had made the payments without Trump's authorization, that he had done it on his own and that it was Cohen's money.
I love a witness who says, don't pay attention to anything that I have to say. Don't take my word for it. That's not the way that this is supposed to work.
I'm a liar.
My prediction is that that particular witness is going to wither on the stand, as will Stormy Daniels, who has built a financial empire on her alleged dalliance in 2006 with Trump. But most jurors, I think, will find her less than credible.
Nan, there are reports that the former president is facing a large number of felony charges. We're also hearing that he will not be handcuffed. There may not be a mugshot either. Also, the judge is not allowing the use of digital devices, but is going to allow some still photos before the hearing. Alina Habba, who's a Trump attorney, says the real crime here is Alvin Bragg possibly leaking the number of charges. Take a listen.
I would like to see what the basis is for this. Let's remember that the real crime here that we have is that DA Bragg did leak that there were 30 to 34 counts. We already know that. That in itself is a felony. You are not to let that go. So at this point, I mean, and I like everybody in this country to be treated the same no matter who you are.
We don't know if the DA leaked that information. That is speculation.
Well, we don't have that information, so... Well, it's not speculation. We don't have the information. So it came from their office.
Okay. Congresswoman, for all of the talk about Trump, the leaks from the DA's office or from the grand jury, they are felonies.
Yes.
There are Democrats, there are people that I talk to, folks who continue to suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. They want the mugshot. Yes. They want the spectacle of all this. They wanted a perp walk. They wanted him to be put into a holding cell. I'm not sure any of those things are really going to happen today. Are they going to be sorely disappointed?
Well, the less they have, I mean, it sounds as though, I was just obviously listening to Amir Benno, who's very expert. It sounds as though a mugshot is standard procedure. President Trump, if he is to be treated as everyone else would be, will have that done. And then presumably the mugshot will be released because it's public information. President Trump has profited, and his campaign has profited thus far from this situation, not surprisingly, but it is a double-edged phenomenon. The Democrats, with the regime media, we have media that are primed to give credence to Democrat claims and not to Republican claims, and certainly not to Donald Trump. Yeah. So we're already seeing some of that effect in that Liz Cheney, who's one of President Trump's chief antagonists in the Republican Party, has actually risen in a recent poll of potential Republican presidential candidates for 24, which shows you that the anti-Trump contingent among Americans, which is substantial and has its own convictions, not to pun, will also be activated by that.
So the anti-Trump maybe will grow stronger, that base,
Yes.
and then the Trump, or the people who always supported Trump will, but maybe he's pulling people who may or may not because they're seeing what's happening. Yeah, interesting.
Betsy, what do you make of President Biden finally speaking out about this? He was touring a manufacturing facility in Minnesota. He says he has faith in the legal system and in the NYPD. Why are they not saying more, and what did you make of his comments?
They were pretty thin. But what I'm concerned about is that, in fact, the left-wing media, the Democrats, and Alvin Bragg will not be gagged. And I'm concerned that Judge Marchand will put some sort of limitations today on Donald Trump's ability to speak, to use social media. You know, after the way this will go is that Trump's attorneys will probably waive reading of the indictment, although sure will be interesting to hear that. And then the question is, will Marchand ask for the president's passport or put any restrictions on his travel? Don't know about that. But the big one is, will the judge put some sort of restrictions on his speech? And that's a critical issue because Bragg has already announced that he's having a press conference right after this indictment. The president has a speech planned for later in the evening.
Right.
But it's going to be extremely unfair if one side can talk about this case
It's
and
a
the
double
other
standard.
side
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It would be a double standard. I want to bring in the political angle on this. You know, as we look to 2024, there are reports that suggest that President Biden isn't going to be rushing his re-election bid for the White House after all. The president saying that his advisors and close allies don't expect a re-election announcement formally until as late as July or even in the fall. And you know, Betsy, the president said that he was going to discuss this with his family over Christmas break, and now we have to wait even longer. And I know people believe that he's boxing out other candidates, but is it possible that he's also looking to prevent a prolonged, expensive primary fight in the event that he doesn't decide to run for re-election after all?
Well, I don't know why that would prevent it. The fact is that he is really hurting the Democratic Party. I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. But he's hurting the Democratic Party by keeping everyone in limbo for so long. He's obviously too old to serve another term as president, not chronologically because of his age, but because of his health, his obvious lack of mental acuity. And other candidates should be just assuming that he won't run. Yeah. Somebody leading the Democratic Party, usually it is the president, but in this case, somebody else has to take the leadership of the party and say, let's see who's on the bench. Let's start having a beauty contest to see who can rise to the top.
Yeah, no, great. I know we got to go, but great conversation. We'll pick this back up at the top of the hour. I wonder if he's just waiting to see what happens with former President Trump. All right, coming up.